Dr. Jackson, Board of Trustees, thank you so very, very much for this great honor and privilege. I am honored to become a Wildcat.
It's par for the course. You know, there's a lot of intolerance on the left among our young. I mean, whether it's Berkeley, in this case, what was going on in Daytona Beach, Florida, at Bethune-Cookman University, where a lot of the students rose up and turned their backs on the Education Secretary. Normally, whatever you think of her or secretary or elected official, be he or she, Democrat or Republican, there's always been an understanding, let them speak. She got a chance to speak, but she was interrupted quite often. CampusReform.org Media Director Cabot Phillips with us right now. Cabot, what did you make of that reaction?
Well, it just shows, like you said, par for the course. These students clearly have forgotten the point of college in the first place. You go away to college to hear from people you disagree with, not to just shout them down because they have an opposing point of view. And the ironic thing here, too, these students, they weren't getting a sermon from Betsy DeVos. She wasn't preaching to them. She was there congratulating them on their accomplishments. And this isn't isolated to Bethune-Cookman. This is at colleges all around the country where opposing ideas, they're not welcomed. They're not viewed as an opportunity to grow. Opposing ideas are viewed as a threat, and that is contradictory to what college is about in the first place.
You know, obviously, we're all free to express our displeasure any way we want. There's nothing wrong or illegal that these kids did and all, but when it takes the provost of the college to stand up and say, hey, enough already, where is this going?
It's ironic, too, these students probably had no idea a week ago who Betsy DeVos even was in many cases. If you were to ask them, they would probably just hear, oh, she works for Donald Trump, she must be terrible. And I think for most of them, it's strictly her association with Donald Trump that's caused them to stand up and lose their minds and freak out and try and shut her down. If you were to give them a resume of Betsy DeVos just without her name or without the name of Donald Trump, they'd probably applaud her work, on tax vouchers, on school choice for all students. But again, it's just that association with Donald Trump.
Yeah, you might be right. No, you might be right.
Yeah.
She got through the thinnest of margins to that post, and it was thanks to Vice President Pence breaking that tie. But having said that, I'm wondering about what this says collectively in a year we've seen since Donald Trump became president of these protests at Berkeley and elsewhere, student dust-ups at NYU and elsewhere about getting any conservative speaker. And I know, these higher learning centers are liberal bastions, and that's fine. I mean, but there's a total intolerance for which the left blames the right for being indifferent and not open to ideas, when in fact, of late, it seems, quite the opposite. It's the left totally intolerant to opposing viewpoints.
It is intolerance in the name of tolerance, which could not be more ironic. And I was actually surprised when I saw this story, not because there was a liberal speaker or a conservative speaker getting shouted down by liberals. I was surprised, like you said, just to see a conservative on campus in the first place. We actually did a study at the Leadership Institute's Campus Reform where liberal speakers on campus this year outnumber conservative ones about 6-1. And it just shows that if the speaker is not in line with the ideologies of the overwhelmingly liberal professors, administrators, and students, they're just not welcomed. And these students are graduating having only heard one point of view about how the world is. And so these universities are not doing the job of enlightening these students on different worldviews. And they're doing a disservice to the future of our country.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But it is what it is. Cabot, thank you very much for joining us.